Okay, welcome to episode 152 of an Evolving Man podcast. Today I'm excited to be speaking to Jane Barclay. Jane is a humanistic psychology practitioner and is also an accredited member of the UKCP-accredited, and she is also a member of the BACP, the British Association of Counselling and Psychotherapy. Welcome, Jane.
Thank you. It's just so delightful to be here and meet you more one-to-one rather than sort of passing at the conference, which we did last time, where I was listening to you, but we didn't have a chance to meet, to speak to each other. This is lovely.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for agreeing to come and speak today.
Mm.
And how I'd love for us to begin the podcast is for you to share a little bit about your journey. How did you get into this work?
This work in general, this work, boarding school, specifically working, kind of like to pick up from there, really. I mean, in general, I would say, to summarize, moved down to Devon with husband, now ex-husband, and three children. And I was absolutely lost. I'd moved from where I'd lived, southeast country all the time. And it was the first time I really had a major reaction to, I could now in retrospect think a traumatic reaction of separation. But at the time, it's just like, whoa, what's going on? Felt anxiety sick. And arrived down here and I thought, I've got to do something. Children are at school, don't know anybody. Yeah, I can play a bit of tennis, but I needed, I suppose I'd think about it in terms of purpose or meaning, but I didn't realize at the time I was just scrabbling for something to hold on to. When I saw a little postcard in the library saying Introduction to Counselling, I thought, well, yeah, that will do. It's sort of interesting, might lead to something, might not, but it's just 10 weeks. That'll sort me out for the autumn. And then, as I said before, when I was talking with Chris, 4 years later, I was really into this and then into therapy myself. My marriage ended and everything snowballed after that. And then soon I was qualified, just one client at a time, building a practice. And each supervisor, so magic, one said, well, if you make the space, clients will come. So I sat in my room. One client came once a week and I had 3 hours space. Then I had another client. I thought, oh, I might have more than three. So then I made another space in another morning. And gradually I had about 6 to 7 clients at the same time working in M&S for the Christmas season, which is another wonderful story, actually, of earning my own money, being independent person, spent the money on what I wanted to spend it on. I started to sort of put some roots down in myself, I think,
Mm.
and how I lived, what time I wanted to get up, what I wanted to eat and when. And then Babette Rothschild, I saw training with her, somatic trauma therapy in Cambridge. I thought, oh, this sounds juicy.
Mm.
But because it was somatic body, it wasn't going to be all touchy-feely. It was like, what's going on in the body? So that felt safe. So I went to Cambridge 3 times that year. The thing I most remember was having a frozen shoulder during that year and being in such pain. I thought, I know this is frozen shoulders saying something. It was when I started to realize there was something in somatic symptoms, more than symptoms, a voice here saying, hey, give me some attention. And that was it, interesting as well as painful, very painful, but curious. Always, I think I've just been born curious. I am basically a cat person. I am a cat in human form. Everything about me is wild cat, domestic cat. So I'm curious. And I have a lot of lies maybe as well, but that's me. So
Thank
from
you.
Babette Rothschild into boarding school, the first bit. Well, yeah, in my therapy with Steve King, it was the word privilege that took the lid off. He said something about being privileged, about having food. And I thought, well, for a start, the food at school is filthy, disgusting, despite all the fees. Kind
Mm.
of white slabs of bread and lumpy porridge and milk that had sat out and got sour in the sun. Nobody cared about the quality of the food. For me, there was probably enough, but all I wanted was stodge because I wanted to fill in something that was already empty when I got there.
Mm.
So when he says about food, I thought, well, something rude word that. And then he said about roof over my head. Well, yeah, but it's a bloody cold roof. It's like clean sheets once every 3 weeks, or top to bottom, bottom off every 3 weeks. I mean, that's unhygienic, never mind miserable. Um, the hygiene. I mean, the washing, the laundry. I can't believe that children growing up, senior school as well. You know, we had laundry, clean knickers twice a week, 2 showers a week. So we were not taught to love ourselves or our bodies. We were taught to make do, do with less, do with less. So that was Steve's contribution. And he was great because when I blew my top, he just said in his American voice, "Oh, you sure crossed an edge there, didn't you?" Or something like that. But I can say that because I loved him already by then. And I think he was the first person who completely loved me within the boundaries. You know, he was just opened his heart with quite a big push because he said, "I'm not sure love's going to be enough." I said, "Well, don't you dare take it away." And he said, "Well, it doesn't work like that." So I do. And that was very something for me. Helped open my heart, you see, because you arrive with a closed heart. Uh, I was writing a lot of angry letters to the Observer, given half the chance. Things would get to me. And amazingly, they got published, quite a few. Week by week, I'd go and get the paper. Oh, look, quite a lot of ego there. One of my letters was responded to by Boarding Concern, as it was then.
Mm.
Are you interested? And I thought, well, yeah, that's nice, because I'd written something about boarding. And coming from posh land,
Mm.
and I was quite proud of myself coming out of that. So I got involved with Boarding Concern, boarding school survivors, offered these weekend workshops. So I went on those. My facilitator was the lovely Helena Loverdale.
Mm.
I feel very, very, very sad. I had 2 sessions with her just before Christmas and saw her literally 2 days before she died. And those 2 sessions were, in like many things, it's sort of life changing. It's like heart opening even more, even more. So I'm just full of thanks for those, not delaying my, oh, I better not bother her till after Christmas, because
Mm.
she made space. So I had those 2 weekend workshops. I felt listened to and heard. And I was always in therapy, so I had somewhere to go. And I really say, as an aside, anybody who goes on these weekends, make sure you have somewhere to follow the process on. Otherwise, there's another cut off. It's like a repeat of, okay, you've opened all this up and then stranded. Soon after that, Helena, Nick, and Joy Shabarian ran training for therapists for boarding school work. And I was already seeing 1 or 2 boarding school clients. I thought, I really need this. I was still a little bit of, well, I'm doing the work, I'm doing my work, so I'm fit. I think I hadn't really even begun my own work.
Mm.
Well, I'd begun, but I hadn't really sunk in as to what it meant for me to have been away. I was still a bit on the thing of, I'm lucky nothing bad happened when I was there. I'm kind of lucky that it could have been a lot worse. That's such an easy defense, isn't it?
Mm.
So I
Mm.
did the training. Um, I got lots of how to work and how slippery clients can be and how difficult it was. And I never really associated, I'm doing exactly the same thing as a client, because it's like I was still split. You know, I am that client, but I didn't know that then. Managed to not talk about boarding school much at all. It's like, well, yeah, but there's plenty of other shittier stuff to be going on with. Thank you. Um, I'm glad to say, speaking, what, 16 years later or 15 years later, that has changed a lot. So I'm not, yeah, a huge amount. In fact, mega amount.
Mm. Mm.
Um, and the last bit to answer your question, how I got started working with boarding school clients, I always knew I didn't want to exclusively work with boarding school clients. And then I
Mm.
realized more recently that exclusiveness would be another boarding school's exclusive. It's separate, it's split off from mainstream mainstream trauma. It's one of many. It's neither, no hierarchy, is there? It's like whatever happens, happens. So
Mm.
that's how I got into the work and carried on. I just love, well, I love the work. I'm passionate about the work.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Fascinating journey. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm sure I've come across, I'm sure I've seen some of your letters in the Guardian at some point.
Observer, actually. I never
Oh,
wrote
the
to the Guardian
Observer.
because I never
Okay.
bought the daily paper. It was always a Sunday paper,
Oh, Sunday. I'm
unless they end
sure
up in the Guardian. I've no idea.
I've seen some
Oh,
of your letters. I've definitely seen some of your writings over the years. So
oh,
Thank you for that. And yeah, some of the things you said there, it's like in the documentary, Joy says about eating disorders, how it was a lack of love. And when you said you were
Yeah,
filling yourself with stodge, it was like, yeah. It's interesting. I'm reading a book, a guy, Peter, I've forgotten the surname, and he was at boarding school, and I've not heard many stories of boys being anorexic, but he would just run and run and run and run and run
mm,
until he
mm,
basically almost passed out
mm,
and was just skin and bones.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. I think it applies to boys and girls, not always so differently, maybe called different things. That could be called obsessive training or something, but it's the same thing.
mm,
It's the same trying to not feel, whatever it is, it's the absence of love
mm.
and trying not to feel the absence because it's so painful to feel the absence.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, it
yeah.
makes sense to do anything, whatever it takes, until there's somebody alongside that can go, oh, that's it. To be able to, I mean, we're slightly skipping to other matters really, but if somebody says, oh, that's it, or no wonder, then maybe there's a little route to going, maybe that's what I do that for. Don't
Mm,
want to give it up. It's like I'm really hot on not focusing on trying to give up what has been a really, you started off as a vital defense and then becomes a habit. But somebody said not so long ago to me in my medicine women training, actually,
mm.
even the strongest addictive, most painfully symptomatic, whatever comes of it, still coming from a place of self-love to try and reduce suffering. And I
Yeah,
believe that.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
do.
Thank you. That's often what I do with clients is this idea that sometimes I hear, oh, you've got to be quite hard with the inner critic. And I'm like, well, actually, we need to be firm but loving because
That's,
it's self-love that part came in and protected us. They kept us alive. And when we
yeah,
have that compassionate, they're very young, especially an inner critic's probably two, three, a young aspect. They don't want to be shouted at. They want
no,
love.
they
It's,
want love and not to be got rid of either. The more,
mm,
I always had this thing, but where does this survivally person, where's she go? If we're trying to let go, where's she going to go? That
mm,
wasn't going to work. But scooping her in to be part of, tucked
mm,
in here, that makes sense. I was just fighting
mm.
this thing called letting go. I'm supposed to not. I just cling even harder. Anybody tells me to let go, it's like release it.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, maybe let's segue from there, going
Yeah.
into attachment and early separation, and
Okay.
this idea, being sent away suddenly, you know, even without overt abuse. So it's for me,
Yeah.
I used to always compare myself a bit like you. Well, I was lucky. For me, I was lucky because I wasn't being beaten or I wasn't being bullied. I was kind of left alone. But reality was when I spoke to other people about it, they're like, oh my God, you went through that? I'm like,
Mm,
and so
mm.
I'd love for us to talk a little bit about that attachment, early separation, and how that could be experienced as loss of safety and control, please.
I'm going to have to really breathe into this because I can feel myself going up into trying to get a good answer. It's interesting. It happens, no, oh, I've been given a question. I've got to answer. So separation is the one. I'll go in with separation. Shock. The first thing is there's, for me anyway, there's no preparation of heart. I don't think know how heart can be prepared if the separation person, attachment person, mother, father, nanny, whoever it is, comes from a place of rationale. We've got to do this. It's good because we live far away and we can't. There's no schools here, which is a weird one. But anyway, we've got to do it. There may be heart there, but the heart seems to be in the background. It's the rationale. So even that preparation does nothing to, it's a word called ameliorate, reduce the shock of, I might know I'm going. I might have asked to go, which I actually did for matters to do with home. But the shock of the reality of not only has mummy, daddy, whoever it is, my mother disappeared, of here I am in this totally new place, they've gone, the familiar's gone,
Mhm.
but there is nobody here looking out for me at all.
Mhm.
And the word that's come for me more and more recently is this thing called illusion. There might be an illusion of, oh, hello, here's a new friend, but it's not real, because the kids there are looking out for themselves. And
Mhm.
any member of staff who might have a little bit of, oh, poor sods, they're arriving for the first time. And I do hear, people who are counsellors and teachers, it can't be consistent and it can't be anywhere near enough. It might be 2 minutes a day at the beginning of an English lesson or a wink at good night bedtime. There's no consistent, reliable, I'm going to be able to hug that person every day because it comes from that person's availability, not from my need as a little person, which is every day. Surely every day, a few times a day, ideally, but the going off to school, bye bye, darling, have a lovely day. Oh, how was your day? I'm very hot on goodbyes and welcomes.
Mhm.
And I will remain that because I think it's really important.
Mhm.
Um, so the shock of that realization of I'm on my own. And then you go into shock, fight or flight. So how can you protest? Because there's no one to protest to. And if you do, a child's going to be told, well, at best, oh, well, never mind, it'll get better. Come on, let's bustle you along and look at your bed or it's supper time. And at worst, it'll be, oh, for goodness sake, don't fuss or never mind that. Something very abrasive. Um, so that's the fight bit. If there's a flight, well, there's nowhere to go. And physically, there is nowhere to go except possibly a toilet. I think one of the saddest things I heard at one of my workshops I went on, and yet I say sad, and even then I can go, well, yeah, but at least she had something. She went and hugged the toilet bowl every day because it was round. And I think that's pretty sad for an 8-year-old, or she might have been 6. My
That's-
go-to is up on Dartmoor. I find granite because it's round, it's curved. All need this feminine. I'm not even talking about mother specific, feminine. Boarding schools are so anti-feminine, anti-nurturing.
Mhm.
And it talk about a book. There's a book I've recently reordered called Secret Lives of Men by James Hawes. And he writes it wounds men just as much as women to be in this patriarchal society. We all need this yin yang, feminine. So the shock, there's no flight, there's nowhere to go, there's nowhere to hide, there's nowhere to run to. Um, so the only recourse is to we could talk about freeze. It's not a don't move freeze so much as freeze the feelings and the needs and just freeze everything down, put my heart away and soldier on, literally. I'll do what I need to do to get by, to not get beaten for boys, to not
Mhm.
get shamed and cut like a knife with some caustic remark. Always, who do you think you are? And some sort of form of shaming, because the sadists always find a vulnerable point. Mine was always my weight or um, the nickname I had at home. Um, and I'd try and be a little defiant. My defiance was to join the Monkeys fan club because I'd get matron going, oh, look at you and your post. And I said, yep. But, that's hardly a major thing, is it? I
Mhm.
don't know if I like the Monkeys or not, but, wasn't the point. It was
Mhm.
easy
Mhm.
music. They were probably quite benign. They weren't going to harm me. Um, yeah, but just the getting by, being a little bit rebellious, not to finding food wherever I could find food, hoarding sweets, we had 2 a day, make a pile and have a binge, anything. The comforty things. I mean, people find different ways of comfort, but it's a pretty grim way to go, particularly when all these patterns last decades and decades because they're so familiar. But we get to the therapy bit later, maybe.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
that's if that addresses your question or answers
Yeah,
it,
that
please.
does. It
Yeah.
does. It's really useful to hear. And I think it's like the food. I mean, that's so sad that a girl is hugging a toilet bowl.
Yeah, I think so. It's not very warm, is it? And it's
It's,
pretty shitty, to be honest. Literally,
yeah, it's like,
it's but it's round and it's private. and you can cry in quiet, and nobody's going to see you or hear you in there because you've got a cubicle.
Yeah. 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 I mean, yeah, that
Mm,
privacy thing, I've talked about that quite a
mm,
lot over the years.
mm,
I mean, I've said this. So first time I had a door was 16. So from 11 through till 16, I didn't. And then I was sharing.
mm,
Toilets downstairs, we had a door, but no toilets upstairs or none showers or baths, no
mm.
curtains, not till we were 16. So, and I almost see on a psychological level, it's like because we didn't have that privacy, we built up these defenses, like the carapace that Joy talks about, the walls, because there were no walls out there, so we got to build them up inside ourselves to stop people getting to us. And they say, "Oh, he's settled in." It's like, no, no, they've just dissociated. They've gone.
Yeah, this thing called settling in, God. Yeah, just not showing any signs of disturbance means equals settling in. It's extraordinary. But also the no walls on the other polar extreme is I don't care who sees me doing anything, and I can be anybody and anything and just be out there. And it's not about trusting everybody, it's just like don't care. Everybody um, being sort of exposed, and anybody can get at me because I'm not aware of how else to be, which is another version of the opposite end of the same thing in a way. People can get into real danger with having no boundaries, no privacy, because I mean, I hear people traveling. I think I might have referred to this before. It's one that's really stayed with me. 17-year-old out of school decided she wanted to travel. So she'd just go and climb into the cabs of lorry drivers going across Europe. Luckily for her, they looked out for her, but they might well not have done. She could be in some slave trade or other somewhere. Well, that's
Mm.
danger. That's with no privacy, no sense of boundaries of self whatsoever.
That reminds me a bit of the work of Stephen Porges, this inability when we've shut our hearts down, we are unable to read facial signals. So therefore we're just like,
Oh
oh
yeah,
yeah, yeah, great.
yeah.
Whereas people who are securely attached, who have that connection, be like, whoa, that person is not trustworthy.
This is so current for me. Discerning the difference between the illusion
Mhm.
and the real thing. I'm or not quite as we speak. Within the last 3 or 4 months, I've really been working on to discern. And to discern, I have to listen to my instinct and my heart. There's no other guide, is there? Absolutely none. So luckily, with timing, I've been much more able to discern the difference.
Mm,
Mostly,
yeah.
more than I
And
used to.
And I think this is beautiful because I think sometimes for us as ex-boarders, it can feel like, well, I'm always going to be like that. And yet more and
Uh-uh.
more people are like, oh, no, no, I can feel now, like I shared, today is
Yeah.
the anniversary of my wife's death and I've been in tears a lot. And it's like,
Mm.
and that's okay. That's a normal human experience.
Yeah.
But in the past, I would have just soldiered on. Oh, no, I'm fine, I'm fine. And disconnected. But actually, it's lovely to hear you connecting more to your heart because it's like, it's inspiration. It's like, oh, we can do this. We can heal. We can become emotionally intelligent again,
Mm.
you know?
Mm. Yeah, that thing called hope, and a little bit of the journey of how would be lovely to share a little bit as I weave in sort of how I work with clients as well, because it's all the same thing.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Please do.
Um, I just feel very, very strongly that until, and it might only be a step ahead, I'm more open in me. I cannot support my clients to be more open in themselves. It's a given. Um, yeah. Oh, I've set myself up for something now. I've gone blank. Let's go now to work backwards. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's it. Yesterday, I was talking with somebody who I'd met fairly recently, very casually, and we sort of almost struck up a bit of a friendship. But as I said yesterday, he's one of the most elusive people to try and make friends with or anything. He's not a former boarder, he's got his own story. But as we were walking along the beach, talking, he turned to me and said, so how have you found this commitment to therapy, to you, to what is it? Which is a great question. So I really had to think about that. And I thought, didn't take me long. I said, well, something in me was never broken. And I came home and I thought, the little tiny spark of life that I was born with and that we're all born with never actually went out. Bang.
Mm.
So there was always something to be able to either blow really gently on to increase the spark, would be one metaphor, or to water a little seed, another metaphor. But I like the fire one. Um,
Mm.
although I'm a water sign, my secondary, whatever it is fire. And I like fire. And I've got candles here that I'm keeping an eye on so I don't burn the place down. Um, they're safe. So that little spark, and think Tom Hanks in Castaway, he never gave up, did he? Would
Mm.
till his hands were raw. He was going to get that flame going, whatever it cost him. He knew. I mean, the film is such full of metaphors. It's my absolute go-to. But he absolutely must make fire, and then gradually got a tiny spark and he blew it and coats it into flame, and then he's got let's say the fire of life. It is fire. It's passion. It's the life force. We've got the
Mm.
sun. It's all just amazing life force. And for me, that was never totally doused out. It just wasn't. And
Mm.
I'm partly, it's like, okay, I did have my dad for the first 3, 4 years of my life picking me up and holding me, and um, had that sense of safety. And I think that counts for a lot. And with a client, I'm always looking for may not be human. It may, the other day, there was we got to talking about cats. It's like, oh, well, you're talking to a cat person. And then suddenly it's like, having access to stroking a cat occasionally.
Mm.
So this is going to be something here, some sense of that want still being alive, want to live, desire to live.
Mm.
So I said to this person yesterday, well, there was that, and then little by little by little, seeking people to help fuel that flame. And again,
Mm.
I believe it has to come from outside. The flame is here, but I can't only be the one to water that, because that goes back into it's all me, it's all down to me.
Mm.
Letting in that little bit of woof of air, that's always the edgy bit, because the trust, which is also to talk about, there's no distrust. How can I trust that person isn't going to make use of my vulnerability and need,
Mm.
which happened at home big time with my stepfather? He just saw one needy girl and bang, he was in there.
Mm.
Go away to school, not trusting anybody, hence being quite separate. But how to repair that trust? I hear so much. I don't want to go to therapy. I don't want to, because it's all about relationship. And relationship is the most untrustworthy thing for anybody who's been hurt at home and or at school. I kind of did the other thing. Maybe that's why I referred to it before. It's like I'm all in. Met my then supervisor, then therapist, Steve, and it's like you're the one. You're going to be every. I didn't. It occurred to me not to trust him. I would have been absolutely right for, and it's happened. I have somebody have worked with who completely shut on by her therapist. I mean, it's so easy. It doesn't happen often, thank God, but it happens. Just like shut on by a priest or a teacher, or it's a it's a position of power. With intent, it's just absolutely lethal. With not intent, it is damaging. Hopefully, a supervisor might pick up if there's a lot of acting out, or a therapist, but it is possible.
Mm.
So that flame gradually, thank God he was trustworthy. And then I started to discern a bit. I'd always interviewed 2 or 3 therapists before I settled. And
Mm.
something in me just said, this person's got soft eyes or a bit of a heart somewhere. Maybe I can let in a bit of heart
Mm.
and not rushing into hug. It's just anybody who rushes into hug, it's like, nah, it's all about them wanting, I'm a huggy person. It's like, well, fuck you. Sorry, excuse my language.
No
go,
worries.
and, go and hug. It's like, that's not it. It can be loving, but it's not if it's only for that person's like their need for hug. It's like
Mm.
there has to be a two-way. The person who wants to say no to the hug always has to win through. It's like
Mm.
the slowest rider in a pack of bikers. It's like the person who says no. That it has to be so if there's going to be
Mm.
any relationship.
Mm,
I mean, I
yeah.
can say I love to hug, but not any old bod just for the hell of it. I might love that person, but working with clients or being anybody else, that thing of attunement, sensing the energy, where is that person? Then we're talking about empathy, feeling
Mm,
into, is that person similarly, attuned or a little bit not quite sure? Um, there are
mm,
folk who interested about diagnoses, but it might be termed autistic, who absolutely no touch, just march in and go hug in. It's like,
mm,
that's just going to be terrifying for the other person. So when I was
mm.
totally terrified in all my training, nobody did come up and attack me with hugs, well meaning or otherwise. I think I gave off an aura of barbed wire fence. It's another film I love is Steve McQueen, in Great Escape. And
Yeah, yeah,
there he
yeah.
is all tangled up, and he does that same bloody ride over and over and over again because he's still doing the same thing. If only he thought, maybe I've got a little nail clipper in my pocket, I can go snip, snip, snip. But he doesn't do that.
Mm,
But
mm.
I've done that. I got out of that rabbit run. Yeah,
Yeah, thank
yeah.
you. So
I can't remember where we started, but we seem to have
we were
gone on quite a
talking
loop.
about your journey of kind of how you healed and
Mm,
then with your clients as well.
yeah, yeah.
Mm. Anything else
Attunement,
you'd like to
trust. Mm,
add in there? So I'm hearing trust is important. You know, some people are very resistant. That reminds me of Diane Poole Hello and the attachment of the avoidant is like keep it intimacy at
mm,
arm's length
mm.
or to diminish the importance of relationship. Oh, they're not important. You know, oh, I don't need those. And, you know, a lot of my work's with leaders and a lot of
Okay.
the modern leadership material is leadership is a relationship. So if you say they're not important, how on earth are you going to lead?
You're not going to lead because there's nobody to lead, is there? If you're not in a relationship, you're up there floating around on the top of a mountain with nothing and nobody. And
Mm.
if there's no collaboration either, yeah, it's not going to work
No, no, and
well.
this is what I see more and more and more.
Mm.
So I'd love for us to segue a little bit
Yeah.
into, play. You're
Oh
putting on
yes.
this, I know it's a bit of a tangent here, but it's like this, you're doing this musical, this children's
Mm.
musical.
Mm.
How did this come about and how
Uh,
is it linking into child protection, which is essentially what we're talking about. Boarding
yeah,
school,
we
there's the
really are.
lack of child protection, there's
Yeah.
a lack of mandatory reporting. I'd love you to talk a bit about this creative passion of yours.
Mm. Well, it's taken me by surprise. Really taken me by surprise. I've always thought I'm not a creative person, or I'm certainly not artistic, as in drawing, but and I can't play by ear. All these messages, I can read notes.
Mm,
Years and years ago, when I was first in therapy with Steve, I started writing little songs. I never showed them to anybody. Um, I started coming up with lots of rhymes to start with in the therapy, and they were all gruesome rhymes.
mm,
But
mm,
I can rhyme and rhyme and rhyme. And rhyme is rhythm. And this is a lovely sort of spider's web of medicine women chanting, drumming, rhythm. It's all about rhythm. There's a lovely chant which that can keep for another time, but there's a lovely all about rhythm. And in my rhyming came rhythm, and then came some lyrics, words. Lyrics sounds very grown up. Words for a song. And the words, the first song that came is it's called Cuddle Up, Cuddle Up, Cuddle Up, Cuddle Up Tight. All I want to do is cuddle all night. Easy, clink clonk, clink clonk. And it's like, oh, children might quite like this, little people. And then another one came. And then I showed two or three songs to somebody who did stage plays.
mm,
And I don't know what he meant by what he said, but I heard, well, when he said, "Oh, they're all the same," maybe come back in a year or two. I just heard, "Well, they're a waste of time because they're all the same and there's no point." So I put them all in a drawer. Didn't chuck them away. I'm a great keeper of things just in case, whether it's shoes or clothes or music. And more recently, having arrived here in my little hometown of Dawlish, met somebody who told me about an acoustic night. Why not come along? I took my keyboard and I played one song that I wrote again, the words came from an assignment in training, the role of a counsellor. This was in year 2, when I wrote 3-verse sort of poem. Again, it's hard to call it a poem. It's like, well, words, poems, what poets do. All of this dumbed down. But yeah, it's a poem. And then more recently, another bit of music came to me, and so I said, these words fit. This is great. Here's a song. So I slotted that into, I call it therapist. I originally gave a version of the poem to my therapist, Steve, as a saying goodbye. I put it in my book and had someone give lovely feedback. He just emailed me and said, I've just read your poem and I'm in tears, which is not a usual look for a commuter on a train in Paddington or something like that. I thought, how so touched I was that he bothered to write to me and tell me, but that was communication, which is lovely. It just goes sort of round in a cycle. So that is one of my songs towards the end. So the musical has taken shape thanks to this acoustic night. One of the guitarists and organisers heard my song. Somebody said, "Oh, is that really yours?" I said, "Well, yeah, it is." He said, "Oh, I like that." He said, "Do you know, it sounds a bit like a musical." And bing, it's like, oh, out it all came, ruffle, 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 all my stuff. And there are the songs, there's the music. And within literally a week, I'd got together one song I wrote after going on a sort of demonstration, after going on a gathering in Exeter about the power of crowd protest against what seemed really kind of aggressive demonstration of I'm right equals you're wrong. And it's like, I don't live in those. I'm just wanting to hear what people have to say, basically. So a song came out of that and had the music. So I've adapted that a tiny bit, not much. But my cuddle up song is song number 1. My overture is Schumann's Scenes of Childhood, Child Falling Asleep, which I can play. Put all this together. Song number 2, ogre music. Well, that's like good old Beethoven and lots of C minor, clonk, 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 and a song which is pretty scary. But it's not so scary because children know about ogres and they can watch a bit of a scary because they know it's going to end well, which it does. And then there's the little song I call Plea, as in Plea. And then there's a narrator's song. That's a nice one. That's not quite new, actually. The melody's not new. The words are new. Then there's what after that? Can't remember. Then there's the therapist. So that's the last one. Then there's the crowd scene song of when everybody gets together. There's a really nice. Well, I mean, I've got a 4-line bit, which is the end of the narrator song. I could even read it out. It's kind of quite
Please
sweet.
do. Yeah, go
Because
for
the
it.
synopsis is all about transitional objects. These 2 little children are going to bed. It's like a bedroom scene. The ogre comes, then they're sort of bereft. And then in steps there's going to be a part for a teddy bear and a moon. I want this for schools to be able to have little school productions. And the last little bit is narrator sings, "There is a teddy bear too for each one of you," I like this bit, "transitional object who will speak to one who listens and will have a safe knee, in verticals, and cuddle not too tight, but just right, and give you a sanctuary for as long as you need." And it sounds a bit weird speaking it, but it's got a sweet little tune and a little sort of twiddly where stars will be dancing round the moon to end. And then it's like that's the hope. And then the next bit will be, in my story, there's a grandpa, and the grandpa comes to scoop up the children and give them the sanctuary. And the message is there is always somebody to tell and release the secret. It may take 40 years, it may be tomorrow. The trust factor of who to tell, of course, is the absolute crux of it. And it's almost like you can find somebody you don't trust, and that goes deeper and deeper and don't trust. Sooner or later, I like to think there is a fit for everybody of somebody to tell, but it takes a lot of searching sometimes and perseverance. And I have been incredibly lucky that the people I've chosen to ask for help have just come back in heartfuls of love and support. I don't think I've had anybody, had 1 or 2 supervisors along the way who prickled, but it's like, oh, might have taken me a year or 2 to leave, but I have made no, I'm done with that. Go and search somewhere else.
That
But that's my
safety.
not giving up thing. I'm very, very tenacious.
Yeah, I think I see that. I think with what you said earlier about that kind of ember, I see that
Yeah, that's it.
everyone has that ember,
Yeah,
and it
that's it.
reminds me of Jung's work and Robert Moore. This idea of the sovereign archetype, the immature form is like the divine child, and it's like this seedling coming out of the ground. It doesn't matter if people have squashed or trodden on it, it can still come out again. And that's what I see. And it's that hope. And often I see, and I almost, you could link it in almost with the fixed mindset and the growth mindset that boarding schools really create a fixed mindset. I'm always going to be like that. I cannot change.
Mhm.
You're either bright, or you either have it or you don't. Whereas the growth mindset is, oh, you made a mistake. Great. What can I learn from this? I can't do this yet, but I can learn. Or, oh, my heart is not yet open, but I can do things, and it empowers us. And yet,
Yeah, I can, as long as I'm not all on my own.
yeah.
I do think there's just something about the energy drawing in other as well as, so it's otherwise it's sort of, I don't know, I can't put that more into words. The person I was talking to yesterday is still in that I can't, it's always going to be like this, not a form of order. So it's like any child can learn that, boarding school or
Mhm.
no. At boarding school, it's almost a given you're going to learn that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm, mm, mm,
yeah. So just last bit about the musical. What I really hope for is to make a score. I've got the recording as a demo. Is to have a score very easily to play music. Um, you know, an 11-year-old would not struggle with the standard of music to be able to produce in little school productions and spread and ripple and ripple. So children will see it and their parents might see it and be alert to, oh, is there something going on I need to know? Or something. That's what I would love. That's my little dream anyway.
well,
Spread it out like that.
it will happen. It's that
Hope
in
so.
for
Yeah,
me, it's like with the documentary, it's just having that
yeah,
intention that it will
yeah.
happen. It will come in front of the right person. I just watched the um with Ben Cole did a some interviews and the people who were speaking afterwards, and he's done a little film which we'll put out on social media and YouTube. But it's like it's that certainty that
Hope
this
so.
will happen. They cannot stop us. It's
I
gonna
did actually
happen.
ring him a message yesterday. I thought, yeah, well, he might. I don't think I've met him in person, but I know he did your documentary. I thought, well, there's no harm done. So I winged him a little message and I'll follow that up later. Just see what
Yeah,
comes of that.
great. And that's it. It's like that certainty and
Yeah.
and for us, as you say, a community, I think I've heard this before because our wounding was done in a group at boarding school. Actually, that's where often the
Mm,
best healing can
mm,
happen. And I see that more and more as there's so many of us now writing stories, and we're
mm.
not alone. It's not just Nick or just Joy. There's literally hundreds of people sharing, and we're all supporting each other moving forward in a
That's
benevolent
my,
way.
sorry, that's my real takeaway from this conversation. I so focused on the one-to-one, which tells me that that is absolutely based on mother, father, stepfather, home,
Mm,
first major trauma. The idea of community being the healing, boarding school healing, because the wounding was done in community, is like, oh, this is really juicy for me
mm,
to realize that what I've been doing, I always like it's been happening before I become aware of what's happening. That to me is magic because
mm,
our instinct takes us to, and then it's like, oh, now I understand how come. Da, da, da. So that's a real takeaway to add to
mm.
my awareness. Is
Yeah.
lovely. Thank you for that. That's
Well,
really good.
it's Karen Macmillan who I first heard that from, who's a therapist down in Brighton way, who I
Yeah, I've
interviewed.
come across her. I haven't met,
Yeah,
but yeah, I know of
she's
her. Yeah.
amazing, her work. And yeah, she mentioned that to me, and I'm like, oh, that's really insightful and makes so much sense.
Yeah, I tried group therapy for a while, and I remember stomping in there saying, "There's not a bone in my body that wants to be in this room, but hey, here I am." And I knew there was lots of boarding school stuff going on there, but that was, I would say, not anti-healing, but I didn't come away feeling, I don't know what quite. Anyway, I,
Mm.
I like what you say, a whole lot more of collaborating,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
just feels lovely. Yeah,
It
lovely.
reminds me of Simon Partridge, I think, when I
Oh
interviewed
yeah.
him, who's an amazing guy. I really love Simon.
Mm.
And he was saying that, you know, you've almost got Judith Herman's model of you've got what is it? Is it acknowledgement? And then there's the grieving, and then you come out with the boon, you come back with your gift. And it's almost like that third stage of healing. We then step back once we've done the healing work. It's a bit like going on that hero's journey, going down into darkness, but then coming back with the gold. It's at that point we can then go, this is my work. This is my work. And there's so many people now doing that. And I think it's so exciting to see.
Timing is everything. So I would say the most recently of all, literally in the last couple of weeks, I know, talking about gouging down, I have actually gouged to the very bottom of my pit. I know there is no further to go. I kind of described it as reaching a false bottom, but knowing there was something I couldn't quite, and I kind of knew, but wasn't ready to open. And I've shared that now and spoken it. And I've spoken it outside the therapy room first. It's interesting. And for me, that was almost like testing out that I'm not going to be having to deal with this just in therapy, but within a wider context.
Mm.
And that was absolutely met exactly right. There was no rescuing, there was no abandoning. It was just stay put and listen, and took to therapy. And when I went to my five rhythms dancing,
Okay.
I felt like 100 weight of coal had been lifted off my back. I was like floating. It was just amazing. And I feel this was just, is just feeling that lightness. So the readiness to then, as you say, ripple out and bring the work wider. There's a readiness that feels grounded, not not precarious. Just really
Mm.
grounded. And I'm trying, all this feels very serendipitous, just right.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
went dancing
good.
yesterday morning. It wasn't five rhythms, it was ecstatic dance, so slightly different. Although my friends were running some five rhythms in my town. Actually, first time I ever went to five rhythms was in Totnes, actually. So
Was it?
that was 24 years ago. Was it 24
Mm-hmm.
years ago? Yeah, I remember going, and my inner critic was like, "What the hell are you doing? What do you mean
Mm,
not? You're not drinking. You're dancing during the day. You're stupid." But I really enjoyed it. It was like, "Oh, this is great."
mm. Well, I
But
didn't dare go until about 6 months ago. It's like, no, I can't do that. Everyone's going to be watching me. And I found a little place in Exeter, not so little, a church hall. And well, I read their guidelines, and it's literally no observing as well as no touching, no observing. I thought, oh, I'm going to risk it. And I never looked back. Just love it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's great.
Ecstatic dancing sounds good. I found a thing called trance dance. That's with Leo Rutherford up in Sussex.
Oh,
90-year-old Leo is trance dancing. I mean, it can't hurt, can it? It's going to be fun and wonderful.
no. So he's an
Mm.
ex-boarder, Leo.
Yeah, yes. He was at the conference and I met him
Was
there for the
he?
first time. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. It's lovely,
I-
lovely man.
yeah. He emailed me about that he had been because I'd heard of him because I did shamanic training about 15 years ago. That's where I met
Right.
my
Oh,
wife.
okay.
And so I'd heard of him through the shamanic kind of circles that, oh, I'm going down to train with Leo Rutherford. But it was only years
Mhm.
last year he was like, oh yeah, I'm an ex-boarder. So there we go.
The
There's
lovely weaving. So
the
his Eagle's Wing women, Dawn and Lorraine, were the women I did my medicine women training with last year.
mm,
So
mm,
it's all, and my therapist John did his original shamanic training with them years and years ago. So the all the weaving is just delicious.
I'd love you to talk about eldership and your work
Ah,
there.
Yeah.
Because I think it's such an important thing that we've lost eldership. We've got old age, but we don't necessarily nurture eldership so much.
No. I remember saying to Steve years ago, when I'm old, I want to be this wise granny that my grandchildren will come and hear stories. I love the idea of storytelling. I think storytelling is such magic. It's going to be different every time, like a stage, according to who's listening. Anyway, that was a little, I hope one day. And that was I don't know how many years ago, 20 odd years ago, more, 25 years ago. So I hit 70 this year. So definitely age wise, I'm in the elder brackets of I'm allowed to be, maybe I don't think it matters actually how old. There's something here about confidence, trusting, which is what confidence is, trusting my wisdom. And it's not about knowing and being right at all. In fact, how wise to know that there is no such thing as right. It's not about being right, because right is win, lose, better than, knowing more than. There's a trust that I can tolerate not knowing. It's
Mm.
a tricky one, not knowing what next, not knowing what happens when we die, not knowing. But I have a trust that nothing bad's going to happen. I think the word that comes from all the training has to be love. And when I say, what is love? What is that? It's a creative fire. Again, it's that flame that wants to promote growth and goodness. I mean, kindness, all the lovely things. It doesn't foster meanness and jealousy. That's all packed on top of people who are, and I am too frightened to trust that actually there's plenty to go round. I bought a book, Tale of Abundance. It's like I see
Mm.
these titles and I've read through it. It's a nice scuffed book. It's what a beautiful title. There's abundance if we're not trying to grab it all and hoard it and don't trust them and I want more. And I'm sure there are enough grains of wheat on this planet to feed everybody
Mm.
if we let it grow and do its thing, or whatever else there is, water and because I think nature would balance out who's having how many babies and all of that and who's dying off. And I'm sure somewhere,
Mm.
how to ever get there, God only knows, because there's so much re-healing and healing and healing and healing. And yet, love is very, very powerful. So my eldership, my elderhood is just really simple. Is keeping my heart open. When my little grandchildren run up and hug me, I don't go, oh, am I lovable? I go, yes, please, bring it on. And I just go, yum, yum, yum.
Yeah.
And the other day they were all there, and I was just sort of under a pile of gorgeous grandchildren. And my son came and said, are you all right, Mum? And I said, I'm in heaven. I was just, how amazing is that? Absolutely
Mm.
amazing.
Mm.
So keeping my heart, I have to do a lot of work to dare open my heart. Tiny, tiny, tiny bit. My heart's open, it ain't closing. I can discern a little bit to take care of myself, but loving me, keeping my
Mm.
heart open to me, makes me available, not just to, it's not about taking care of everybody, but loving, and then
Mm.
even available for one particular loving relationship, which I've had goes at and not necessarily, certainly not all bad and not half bad and not too bad, but not the real what I think can exist of being heart open. Two people with hearts open
Mm.
has to only be absolutely delicious, doesn't it? So,
Mm.
that little
Mm.
flame of hope is now quite a big fire and it's burning well. So it's good.
Mm.
It's good. It's lovely.
Mm.
So that's
Mm.
me as an elder. It's just walking my talk, actually. I
Yeah,
think that's
yeah,
it. I think that I would sum it up as walking my talk.
yeah.
But depending on what time we have, and I've no idea, I kind of was going to sum up how I am as a therapist. And again, I've got the words of that little song, but I don't want to be sort of cutting short anything. So I'll go with what you are with
Mm, so
timing
we've
and
got about
everything.
10 minutes left,
Okay.
and then
Yeah.
that takes us up
Yeah.
to about an hour. I
Mm.
mean, please do share about what your thoughts are around you as a therapist.
I'll read this first and then see what comes of it and see whether you have. Yeah. So this is what I wrote. That's the role of a therapist, because I think it applies far wider than just in therapy, in my relationship to loved ones. Yeah. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel frightened. No need to pretend. It's okay to be silent, to sit here and cry. And you sit by me quietly and don't ask me why. Layer by layer, you help me dig down, freeing truths half forgotten, not admitted, not even known, or yet known. You listen, heart open, no scorn, no blame. You accept who I am, my guilt, and my deepest shame. No tidy solutions. That always made Steve laugh. No tidy solutions. Advice sorting out. The choices are mine. I am free to decide. To stay bitter, stay wounded, imprisoning myself in my past, or to enjoy feeling loved and love too at last.
Mm.
And that has been my journey and continues to be my journey. And if I can encourage and support and just be alongside anybody, client, family, anybody, without depleting myself, and I say that as an absolute given, because that doesn't serve anybody, then yeah, that's pretty much it, really.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah,
Mm,
there's many, it brings tears up as you share that, I think, because it's quite close to the surface as you've shared your journey about wisdom and eldership. It's like just an image came of my wife used to say to me, eldership for her was sitting in her rocking chair and the grandkids coming up and she'd be
mm,
telling stories. She loved telling stories and she never had a chance to do that, but there was
mm,
still that wish there
mm,
to do that.
mm,
So it's lovely to hear you've had that opportunity
mm.
with your
Yeah,
grandchildren to receive that
thank you.
love and that care and children. Yeah, I think
They're such teachers. Oh my goodness. And do no
amazing.
harm. Helena put me in touch with the five sacred laws, which I had barely ever heard of, existed,
Mm.
of all things are born of woman. This is
Mm.
the nurturing of this, as opposed to this. And the dot inside the circle would be the fire of the child, and do no harm to the children.
Yeah.
And then comes, and it's not angular, it's surrounding the circle with the children inside, is the masculine protective energy
Mm.
of, what was it? A little word I think she said about patrol, not control. It's like just being protective, keeping an
Mm.
eye out. And then following on from that, for the feminine and the masculine to surrender control without losing power. It's like keep that sense of agency.
Mm.
This thing called
Mm.
control is given such bad press. I just call it agency, but to surrender control, of fear-driven control, and just um, keep agency of discernment. I like this word; it's coming a lot. And then, bless her, she died before I got to number five. But my sense of it is, it's the yin yang. It's the yin yang,
Mm.
and I have a lovely yin yang image which I've found, and I'm actually going to have it tattooed on my arm this Thursday, which is
Great.
two, it's a black and white cat. So there's a black cat and there's a
Yeah.
white cat. And they are, you know how cats do that sort of
Yeah.
weavy thing?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it. And I just think it's heavenly. Um,
Mm.
yeah,
Mm.
so that for me is it's the collaboration, I think, and the mutual interweaving of the masculine and feminine energy. And if only, then I think our planet would be a much more safe and trusting and easy place to be.
Mm.
And it does seem like a very, very long journey, a really, really long journey. But who knows? Who knows? And
Yeah,
who knows?
yeah, yeah.
Who
I
knows?
really believe that's really positive. That's what Michelle, my wife, used to always say. It's like it's going to be a bit rough the next couple of years, but she was like had that vision that things will change in a very positive way. And I almost
Yeah,
see that that's the elder is to have that vision and
Mm,
that certainty that we will get there
mm.
and to then inspire the others. It's a bit like Lincoln. I'm reading Lincoln at the moment in I think it's I've forgotten the name of her name of the book, Leadership in Turbulent Times, Doris Kearns Goodwin. And she says his secret was emotional intelligence. One of his secrets was that ability to relate to other people, but also to go, right, emancipation's going to happen, and then right timing.
Have you heard of Pocket Project? I come across them a lot. Thomas
No.
Hubel,
Oh yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So he's
sort of.
friends with Gabor, and so
Oh, that yeah, and somebody's Joe Birch. I can't remember her name. They ran a course a couple of years ago, trauma informed women in leadership, and the
mm,
trauma informed women caught my attention. And I did a 10-week course there, and I'm sort of hooked into some of their podcasts and meetings. Timing's difficult because they're in America, but sometimes I do. And that's very much um, power with collaboration rather than power over, to
mm,
dismantle this hierarchical, got a win, win, win. And I love the whole ethos of that. And
mm,
there are people all over the globe who tap into these. I mean, thousands and thousands of people might attend
mm.
one. The little postcard on the Zoom gets smaller and smaller and smaller because there's so many people, and I like that, and from
Yeah,
everywhere. So
yeah,
there is energy here, and it's way
yeah,
outside the political arena. It's like this is yeah, so lots of magic afoot. I think got a
yeah,
big
yeah,
cauldron, stir the
yeah.
pot.
We
Yeah,
started a program, myself and Chris Breach, in the beginning of
yeah,
January, Compassionate Leaders Pathway. And
right,
it's a
okay.
3 month leadership program, 20 leaders learning about compassion, emotional
Mm,
intelligence, inner work,
wow,
and it's been amazing so far. We do check-in
wow,
circles, but we also do teachings. And it's so exciting to see
wow,
people
yeah.
coming together and just going, oh, this is where I'm at, and it being okay,
Mm,
a held space. Because that's one of the big
yeah.
things I see with leaders is they feel solely isolated. Who can they speak to about
Because
this?
they're up at the top because they've had to win to get there, and so they're on
Exactly.
this very
Never been
precarious
able to
pinnacle,
show
aren't
that
they? Yeah,
vulnerability. It's like, yep.
yeah,
And so it's like, yeah,
brilliant.
changing the paradigm.
I
So,
have a good buddy, a former writing buddy. We went to the same workshops years ago. She's gone whoa, whoa, whoa. She's a lecturer at Exeter Uni for creative writing, but she's involved in the COP program things, and she does lots of poetry courses again for people who are involved in leadership and
mm,
world politics and everything. And she says in the room they're in tears because they can express themselves in poetry or drawing
mm,
or whatever, and then they have to go back and box themselves back in.
mm,
And she's
mm,
doing her same similar work in that way.
mm,
And
mm.
I'm kind of intrigued as to how, I don't know, how to somehow not get involved quite, but to bring some energy towards it. It's like having to choose which, not the direction, but which path to take where it could be effective, really. So I'm
Yeah,
hanging on into the music for now. But I love what you're saying about
yeah.
your courses. Sounds brilliant.
Yeah, yeah. Chris Breach has been amazing, so
Mm,
supportive and,
mm,
inspirational. And
mm,
I just see that this is really Britain is stuck at the moment. And yeah, America's really leading the way. Certain leaders aren't doing that, but a lot of the corporate are using and connecting to emotional intelligence and compassion. And they're showing that they're getting much better results. Staff retention's much higher, profitability is much higher with these compassionate, more rather than hierarchical command and control, which is like the empire, into, oh, this is where we're at. And it's everyone feeling on purpose to go in the same direction rather than dragging them along, going, no, this is the way you're going. It's people who are inspired because it's like, yeah, this is a great vision. And I think it's going to affect, I'm hearing a lot of my clients are in London. They're bringing that in and it's transformational. So it's an
mm.
exciting time.
And I can hear your passion about it too, which is great. This is really
Yeah,
your thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I see mine as I've got three strands. One is transformation, peak performance. The other is leadership, and the other is boarding school. And they often
I,
interlink in a
I bet they do. That's the interlinking. It's like this weaving. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Delicious. Mm.
yeah. So with as we start to wrap up, I'd love for you to, is there anything you haven't said you would like to share? And
Okay. I won't actually pick up my drum and do it with a drum beat. One of my chants is, it goes like this. It's all in the rhythm. It's all in the rhythm. It's all in the rhythm of my heart. Keep weaving. No, keep breathing. That's the most important part. Keep breathing. That's the most important part. With a dip, dip, and then we fly. With a dip, dip, and then we fly. I love that. It's all in the rhythm. We all get born with a heartbeat. Yeah. So that was completely spontaneously straight from my heart. I just saw my drama and I thought, yep, we do it. So there you go.
great.
There you go. And
Thank
singing,
you.
as it is with a, it's just, I don't, it's just what it is. It's just what I am. This is who I am. And
Mm,
I'm so grateful to be here, really.
mm,
And anybody who tunes in, take whatever you want from it and lap it up and go well.
mm.
Yeah.
Bless you,
Fantastic.
bless you. How do people find out more about your work, Jane?
I have a website, um, which if you just tap in Jane Barclay counselling, it will come up. It's a jbcounselling.co.uk.
Okay, I'll put the link in the description.
Okay, yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. And that has got a phone number, it's got an email address, and it's got quite a lot around boarding school, about trauma. Yeah, it's pretty whatever, lots. So that's how. Can't think of anything else. And like all my work is online, and it's going to stay
Mm,
so because it gives me so much flexibility of where I happen to be and the timings. So I'm no longer working in person in a room, and I made that
mm,
decision a few months ago because I'm
mm.
some quite often not actually in my base place, so that works well. Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
Great. Well, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for coming today and speaking and sharing lots and weaving lots of webs. It's been, yeah, a real delight. So thank you, Jane.
Mm. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Mm,
Okay. Bye for now.
yeah.
Bye.
Take care. Bye bye.